This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. It is Friday, May 9th, 2025. I want to begin this half hour with the Vatican electing a new pope, and this time history is made. Robert Prevost of Chicago becomes the first American to lead the Roman Catholic Church, taking the name Leo XIV. CBN's Brody Carter reports on the Vatican City's new pontiff and his global mission.
A rousing cheer from St. Peter's Square greeted the new pontiff as Catholic cardinals broke tradition and elected 69-year-old Robert Prevost, a Chicago-born missionary to Peru, as the first American pope.
Prevost was not the person we thought was going to be coming out on the balcony, so it was a big surprise.
In an interview on CBN's Faith Nation, Father Thomas Reese, a senior analyst with Religion Service, said Prevost spent 2 decades in Peru ministering in a diocese he would eventually lead, an experience that shaped his path to the papacy.
The Latin American cardinals seem to have liked him very much, so that they looked on him as one of their own, not a gringo. And I think their support was very decisive in electing him as Pope.
Prevost was brought to Rome in 2023 to lead the office that vets bishops worldwide, one of the most powerful roles in the Church. Now, as Pope Leo XIV, his priorities closely mirror Francis, blending social concern with theological tradition.
He will be totally in line with Pope Francis's concern about justice, peace, and protecting the environment. I think that's part of the DNA of the papacy today. So he's going to be very concerned about the plight of migrants, of refugees. He's going to be calling on people to pay attention to all the starving people in the world. And he's going to be very strong in speaking out for peace.
A message welcomed by many, even as it challenges others within the U.S. Church. The historic election of the first American pope sparked reactions across the globe, including questions about what his national origin might mean for the Vatican's global role.
We're leaning towards someone with a perspective from other parts of the world, and America certainly has a lot of power in the world, and I thought they might not want that concentration of power, but from everything I've heard, they've chosen a really good man who loves God and wants to do the right thing.
To see the news, was unexpected. I thought it was going to be a European or maybe someone else, but this is great news. He's young, he's 69, so hopefully he gives us some length and has a great run.
Pope Leo celebrated his first public mass today in the Sistine Chapel, with a media address scheduled Monday. His first possible foreign trip could come later this month to Turkey, marking a key milestone in early Christian history, the 1700th anniversary of the First Council of Nicaea. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Turn now to the Middle East. Israel is following through on its pledge to close United Nations schools for Palestinian children as Israel seems to be left standing alone against the Houthis. Meanwhile, a new survey shows half of Gazans approve of Hamas's October 7th attack. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more now. She reports from Jerusalem.
Israel's crackdown on UNRWA, working in the Jewish nation, now includes closing 6 schools in mostly Arab eastern Jerusalem. Students and teachers arrived Thursday to find the schools locked up for the foreseeable future.
When I hugged the teachers goodbye, I started crying because I didn't know which school I'd go to, where I would continue learning.
The United Nations Relief and Works Agency runs much of the education system for Palestinian children, but analysts in Israel say it's teaching those kids to be anti-Israel and pro-terrorist. David Bedin of the Center for Near East Policy Research has been exposing the Palestinian curriculum and UNRWA summer camps for decades. In an earlier interview with CBN News, he showed a page from a textbook UNRWA uses featuring a female terrorist.
This is Dalal al-Mughrabi, who murdered 36 Jews in a terror attack in 1978. And she's glorified in this book, and there's a whole curriculum for her, run by UNRWA.
Bedin says the curriculum is teaching the children to murder Jews and has 3 main points.
1, delegitimization of Israel's existence and the Israel's Jews' very presence in the country. 2, demonization of both Jews and Israelis. And 3, the absence of any call for peace.
Still, as Badin also points out, UNRWA is still using the curriculum in schools in Bethlehem, Ramallah, and Hebron to carry out what he calls indoctrination for the next generation to war. The school closings in eastern Jerusalem come as new poll numbers from Palestinians show half of those who live in Gaza, more than 1 million, feel Hamas did the right thing, launching its October 7th massacre inside Israel. And 85% of the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria and 64% of those in Gaza are against disarming Hamas. If elections were held today, 43% of Palestinians would vote for Hamas. Just 28% would vote for the Western-backed Palestinian Authority. And today, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee announced a new U.S.-led plan to distribute humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza. He laid out 2 criteria.
The first is that food be distributed efficiently, but also that it's distributed safely inside Gaza to the people who desperately need it. The other factor, and this is an important one, that all of this be done in a way so that Hamas is not able to get their hands on it.
Huckabee blamed Hamas for stealing aid intended for the people and for the lack of aid to the people of Gaza.
We are here today with a crisis, not because of Israel. We are here today because of Hamas. They've initiated the crisis, they have prolonged the crisis, and they have exacerbated the crisis.
Huckabee says the plan will be a partnership of governments, NGOs, and charitable organizations from around the world. And turning to Israel's military battles, since the Trump administration made a separate peace with the Houthis this week, Israel finds itself standing alone against the Yemen-based terror group. But Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz is warning the Houthis will absorb heavy blows from Israel if they continue firing at us. Just this week, Israeli military aircraft destroyed much of the Houthis' main port and nearly all of its main airport. Katz also warned Iran, which arms and funds the Houthis, what we did to the Hezbollah in Beirut, Hamas in Gaza, to Assad in Damascus, and the Houthis in Yemen will also be done to you in Tehran. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem to continue our coverage today. So, Chris, tell us more about this new U.S. plan to distribute humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza.
Well, the emphasis on Hamas not stealing the food. Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel from the U.S., made that point a number of times. He blamed Hamas for the starvation of its own people by stealing that aid and not allowing much of that aid to get to the people that really need it. He said a number of partners have already signed up, although they're not announcing who they will be. They're waiting for the whole plan to be implemented to make that announcement. Israel is going to provide overall security within. They'll have a security perimeter around these distribution sites. He also made the point it's a U.S. effort. It's not an Israeli one. And one of the questions that was asked for Huckabee was, is it dependent on a ceasefire? He said no. It will be a very difficult operation. But if there's no ceasefire, that operation will continue.
So, Chris, why are Israelis concerned about recent developments with Iran, the Houthis, and Gaza?
Well, first of all, Ephraim, they feel like there's been mixed messages about the Iranian-U.S. negotiations. They are discussing whether, at the very beginning of these negotiations, whether enriched uranium would be allowed by Iran. Israel felt like that was sort of way beyond where they should start. Israel feels they should start on how they're going to dismantle and destroy civilian infrastructure. They also talked about a civilian nuclear program. That's something that Israel doesn't feel even needs to happen. There's also a difference in the Houthis. As we saw in Julie's report, there's been a separate U.S. truce with the Houthis that it doesn't include Israel. There's also a report, hasn't been confirmed yet, giving Saudi Arabia nuclear capabilities without demanding normalization with Israel in return. That's not confirmed yet. Also, President Trump's coming to the region, but not to Israel. All these, in Israeli eyes, feel like there's some daylight between the U.S. and Israel. U.S. Ambassador Huckabee emphasized there is no daylight between the two countries, but that's the concerns, these number of issues that are really concerning to Israelis right now between the U.S. and Israel.
All right, Chris, what do you have for us this evening on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, we have more updates about what's going on in the situation. Analysis with Alex Trayman of JNS News. Also analysis with the former IDF international spokesman Doron Spielman about many of these issues, the Houthis, Iran. Also, we have a welcome event with Ambassador Mike Huckabee that was earlier this week. And finally, Ephraim, we have a story on CBN Israel and part of their humanitarian outreach to the people of Israel.
Chris, our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, we appreciate your insights and look forward to hearing from you again come next week. Thank you. From library takeovers to arson, anti-Israel protests are once again happening on college campuses. New York police arrested scores of pro-Palestinians at Columbia University Wednesday evening in one of the biggest anti-Israel demonstrations on campus since Hamas attacked Israel. And on Capitol Hill this week, lawmakers put tough questions to university presidents over their policies. Adia Hurd is on this story.
Chaos at Columbia University Wednesday as crowds of masked pro-Palestinian protesters stormed the library, beating drums and chanting. 2 public safety officers suffered injuries in the melee.
It's just an utter disgrace to an institution of that caliber, and it just shows that neither the protesters nor the administration has learned anything.
The university claims most in the crowd had no affiliation with the school, but of the more than 80 people arrested, police say all were students at the university. The school issued a statement saying Columbia strongly condemns anti-Semitism and all forms of hate and discrimination, some of which we witness today. Across the country in Seattle, anti-Israel protesters caused an estimated $1 million in damage this week, starting fires at the University of Washington. 1 year after pro-Hamas encampments sprung up at Columbia and other universities around the country, many Jewish students say they still feel threatened.
And it is clear that Jewish students are still unsafe on their campus. Now is the time we finally hold our institutions accountable.
Lawmakers grilled college presidents on Capitol Hill Wednesday over reports of continued anti-Semitism on campus.
At Haverford, we do not tolerate discrimination or harassment or bias.
And what does that mean, not tolerate? Does that mean suspension, firing of that individual? What does that mean?
Do you believe anti-Zionism is any more acceptable than anti-Semitism?
There is room for criticizing the government of any nation.
Of course there's a problem with anti-Semitism. There's a problem with Islamophobia. There's a problem with racism. There's a problem with sexism.
Lawmakers are warning schools that fail to crack down on anti-Semitism they could lose federal funding, similar to what happened to Harvard. Secretary of State Rubio says his office will review the visa status of every person involved in the Columbia violence, saying, quote, Hamas thugs are no longer welcome here. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Coming up, a troubled boy's encounter with a judge changes his life for the better. We're sharing the heartwarming story. It's coming up next. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Welcome back. I want to turn now to a story perfect for Mother's Day, which is happening, of course, this Sunday. A chance encounter between a Virginia judge and a troubled boy sets his life on a course he never imagined. Charlene Aaron talks with both about the overwhelming impact of that one moment.
Dante Wright grew up in Surry County, Virginia, to parents who didn't finish high school. In 1997, at 4 years old, he and his older brother Leon almost literally bumped into a woman who then took a special interest in them.
My brother took my bicycle and ran into the street, and I chased after him, and her vehicle happened to be coming by at the same time. She stops in the street, puts us back into the yard, and goes to my mom and says, hey, your kid's out here in the street. This is very dangerous.
That woman happened to be General District Court Judge Gamil Poindexter.
They were in the middle of the road. And so, you play this, you got to figure out how to do that, get the car stopped, shoo the kids off the road. And then I turned around and went into the house and met their mother.
Judge Poindexter and her husband Gerald, an attorney, had already raised 2 sons, also attorneys. For some reason, though, she felt compelled to build a bond with Wright and his family.
Weekends, we would do things together, and I would take them to football games.
As time went on, family legal problems caused Child Protective Services to become involved, which led to Wright and his siblings being moved around for years. Judge Poindexter eventually lost contact with him. She later learned about the family's situation after Wright entered high school and arranged to take him into her home.
I don't know if people know, particularly black boys, 15, people don't take them into homes. They have to end up in shelters, group home. And so much can happen there. And so my husband and I said, no, he's too good for that. He needs something. He needs the best that he can get.
Wright thrived living with the Poindexters, graduating from high school with honors and earning an academic scholarship to Virginia State University. His next move followed a familiar path.
I think I was planting a seed for law school. So he did criminal justice, and he did very well. And by the time he finished that, he said, I'm ready, I'm going to law school.
In 2018, Wright graduated with honors from North Carolina Central's School of Law and passed the District of Columbia bar examination on his first attempt, something he saw as impossible.
I thought for certain I was going to fail the bar exam. Because, again, you think that at some point, right, your luck is going to run out.
Judge Poindexter served in the courts until her retirement in 2007. At Wright's urging, she reconsidered retirement. And today, they're law partners at Poindexter & Wright in Smithfield, Virginia. Wright credits his success to Poindexter, whom he often refers to as Mom, a woman who took a chance on him that paid off in the end.
It's just who she is. There's no real reason for it, and sometimes you can't explain everything. Life occurs, and perhaps that's divine intervention.
He was a very special child.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News, Smithfield, Virginia.
Still ahead, an exclusive look at a new film based on the life of Carman. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. A film on the life of Carman is one step closer to being made and going to the big screen. And CeCe Winans begins her annual Mother's Day weekend women's conference. All those stories and more making headlines this week in the world of uplifting entertainment.
At number 5. An early look at Neil McDonough's The Last Rodeo. His film hits theaters May 23rd.
Dad, I don't want him riding bulls. Please don't encourage him.
Let's go! I'm here with Billy Hamilton, champion of the PBR.
He's good.
Not as good as you.
Who is Mr. Wainwright? What's happening?
Joe Wainwright is kind of the everyman. It's, if you want to talk about the film, really, it's when your family gets fractured, when your family gets torn apart a bit, what are you prepared to do to build it back up?
You nearly killed yourself riding bulls, and you wonder why I don't want my son following in your footsteps. All right, Cody. All right, bud.
The souls of our sons. At number 4, we now have a date.
Listen carefully, because I'm going to tell you what is about to happen.
The global phenomenon The Chosen Last Supper begins streaming on Prime June 15. Season 5 features 8 episodes and will debut in 3 parts over 3 weeks.
The hour is coming.
At number 3.
Well, Hollywood has the Oscars, football has the Super Bowl.
and the fashion world has the Met Gala.
A few snapshots from this year's Met Gala, the annual fundraising event for the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute.
The rich, famous, and beautiful strut their style on the red carpet at New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. The theme this year, Superfine, tailoring black style. Among the hosts, actor Coleman Domingo, rapper A$AP Rocky, and musician, record producer, and Louis Vuitton men's creative director Pharrell Williams.
At number 2.
I wish I could tell you, wish I could describe it.
CeCe Winans finishes final touches for Generations Alive, her 4th annual women's conference just ahead of Mother's Day.
Tell me, what's the prayer for this year and focus getting ready? What's your heart?
Oh man, I think that my heart is the same. And that is we would have an authentic move of God.
At number 1.
I always knew my little brother would become somebody. But I had no idea. No one did. That he would break world records.
An Italian child grows up fighting in the streets of New Jersey and becomes one of Christian music's biggest performers. A film on the life of Carman is one step closer to the big screen.
Yo, Carman, I want to talk to you. Hey, after all we did for you, this is how you show your gratitude.
I'm grateful, Tony. I just don't want to do it anymore.
What's the timeline in your mind's eye? What are you thinking? Best guess.
Immediately.
Yeah, today.
Yes.
Well, listen. The good thing about this is that every step of the way we have had so many inquiries and so many excited people who have stepped into the picture and said, "We want to help."
They're saying there's more than 70,000 people out there tonight. It only holds 65. I know!
Your Friday Faithful is coming up next. Stay with us. Time now for your Friday Faithful. Today I want to leave you with this thought. It is a very familiar phrase, often heard as a call and response in church. God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good. Repeat that thought throughout your day. God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good. It's a true statement, even when it doesn't feel like it, and even when it doesn't look like it. With that word, make this a fabulous Friday and have yourself a wonderful weekend. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel at any time, as well as online, cbnnews.com. Take a moment, let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We look forward to seeing you back here come Monday. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there as well.